Hello and welcome to a brief tutorial on how to process raw EMG data using EMG Tools and using the range import option here. So the range import option is a little different from the normal import option above, and there's a couple issues or a couple things that you need to be aware of before you use this method. So when I select the range import message, this big scary window comes up and it asks me basically if I'm sure that I want to do this. So the two things that you need to be aware of are, number one, when you select the range import option, I'm specifying to EMG Tools that I need to import a range of data. So more specifically, a range of rows here. So if I select rows 6 to 1,000, I need to make sure that in all of my data files, I have enough data to accommodate this range. So all of my data files need to be at least this long. Otherwise, you're going to get into an error. And same thing with the columns as well, although those are basically your channels, so you should not be messing that up either, but it's the same thing. So the other issue that you need to be aware of is that my MVC and quiet lying files will still be imported using the normal method. So it'll start at row 6 and it'll import the entire file instead of just to 1,000. The reason for that is because the MVC trial in and of itself is to obtain a maximal value across the entire trial. So at some point in the trial, the maximum may have occurred, and it may not have been in this starting range. It may have been after that. So to exclude that data would be wrong, and it would give you potentially incorrect values. So for that reason, the MVC and quiet lying files are all included using the normal import option. So all of those files are imported rather than just the range. But your data files will only be imported up to this range that you specify. Okay, so with that being said, I'll just go ahead and run through a quick example of processing a set of data using this method. So I've selected my range here. We're just going to process rows 6 to 1,000. So based on my sample rate, that's less than the first half second of data. And I'll do columns 3 to 10. So this is inclusive. So I will be importing 8 channels of data. So 3 rows, so this includes column 3 and it includes column 10. So those are my channels of data, so that's channels 1 through 8. So when I select my number of channels here in the drop-down menu, I need to make sure that I select a number that corresponds with what I've specified here in the range. So that's 8 channels. So the next thing I'll do, again, is you see that I've populated these two windows here, the list box as well as the feedback window, and I will import MVCs. So because we're only doing 8 channels of data, if I pull up this list here, it shows that channels 1 through 8 use only the back and the hamstring MVCs. So all I'm going to do is import those 2 MVC files. So I do that by just clicking on the back MVC here, and then I'll hold down the Control key on my keyboard and then hit the hamstring MVC file here. So now I've got them both selected, and I'm going to hit Open, and that will populate this menu here and show you what directory they're coming from, and then assign a special color to that directory. So for this example too, I will also remove the quiet lying. And again, that populates this list box as soon as you select that option, and it also populates the feedback window. So now we know that we need to assign MVC files and quiet lying files for the data file channels. Okay, so because I'm only importing the first 8 channels of data, those data channels in my particular files only require the quiet lying on the front file. So I'm just going to click on that, go to my data files, and I'm just going to import the quiet lying on the front because I don't need this quiet lying on the back file. So again, that will populate this list box here, or the drop-down menu, sorry, and it will show me what directory I'm pulling the files from. Okay, so now I'm going to quickly go and assign I need to assign MVC files to normalize each channel of data. So that here I want my channels 1 through 4 and then 6, 7, 8 normalized to the back MVC. So I'm going to select all of the channels 1 through 4 in the list box here, and then holding down the control key on my keyboard, I'm going to select channels 6, 7, and 8. And now I'm going to click on back MVC. So now we can see my feedback window has been updated, and it's telling me that channels 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8 in my data files will be normalized using the back MVC file. Okay, so now I'm going to click on channel 5 here, and for that we want that channel 5 in the data files to be normalized to the hamstring MVC. So I'm going to just click on that, and it shows that channel 5 is in fact going to be normalized to the hamstring MVC. So quiet lying, that's easy. I just want to select all 8 channels and click on quiet lying on front. So now EMG Tools knows to use the quiet lying on the front file to subtract this DC bias from channels 1 through 8 in the data files. Okay, so filter selection here, just for the sake of being different from the normal import video, I'm going to select to use the Butterworth filter. And when I do that, this low cutoff option here gets grayed out, and it's no longer clickable like this one. That's because it's not used for the Butterworth filter. So the Butterworth filter is a low pass filter, not a band pass. So instead of having a pass band, it just has a cutoff frequency where frequencies above 500 hertz will be cut off. So I'm going to go through and just check all these other parameters, and these are good. I'm going to keep them like they are. And my downsample frequency, I'm going to keep it at 60. And I'm going to select to export the files, so the fully sampled processed data files. And I'm going to also select to export the downsampled files. And I'm also going to choose to produce quick graphs of my data files that have been processed. So now all of that's been done, and I'm ready to hit the Run Program button. So I'm going to hit Run, and now I get the prompt to select my data files. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to hold down the Shift key on my keyboard, hit the bottom file. So now I've selected all of these files for processing, and I'm going to press Open. So now what the program is going to do is import all my files, it's going to process them, and then what happens next is this window here, and it's going to ask me where I'd like to save my processed files to. So I'm going to save it in this processed folder and hit Select Folder. And now it will save all the files, produce the graphs, and tell me that it is done. So it's done. We can look here. We've got just under half a second of data processed here, so great. We can take a look. All looks good, and then clear figures, and that deletes all the figures. So now if I look at my processed folder here, I can see that I have my DS process, so downsampled processed files, and it just keeps the original file name from the raw file. If I open that, I can see that I've got, yep, all my files. That's downsampled data, and if I look in here, you can see, yep, that's my fully sampled data, so I only processed up to that range. Perfect, everything worked. All right, well, thank you very much for watching, and until next time.